Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Mike, thanks so much for listening to The Drive yesterday. It was so much fun, and lucky for us, we're back on it again. Ethan L. saying, I like this format for Dmac. Me too. We have a lot of fun. And you guys, we also have some exciting news that I'm going to share at the end of the show. So make sure you stay hanging with us. It's going to be just Dmac and I chilling on this Friday, reminiscing a little bit. But Dmac, how are you?
I'm doing good, Rachel. It's a very casual Friday. I'm casual every day. I don't change. But you're going cash Friday.
I'm going cash Friday. I'm like, why not? It's a Friday. We're gonna be on the drive again. So I was like, I just want to be comfy.
Well, how did you like doing everything? How was that like your day yesterday? How'd you like all that?
Yesterday was fun, and I got to give a lot of credit to you, James, Will, and I know Jake later today, but you guys make it so easy for me. You and I were having the conversation yesterday after the show, right? And it's like, I don't want to be one of the guys. I just want to fit in. And so I'm glad that I can be a female voice that just fits in and, can talk sports. And I want that to be a realization for so many other women, because I know it can be extremely intimidating. So I hope that, anyone that listens in and they hear a voice that can keep up with the conversation and know the ins and outs and everything like that, that's ultimately my goal. And you guys allow me to do that so, seamlessly.
Well, if we're going to get on that topic a little bit, which is pretty interesting, right? Women in broadcasting. Yeah, like I don't think of you as a woman. Like, I don't think of Jake Shapiro as a man.
Yeah.
What I do is I just think of us as
a team, a collective team.
Yeah. I don't really think of you any differently than it's Rachel, right? Yeah. But the reason I think I can think like that is because you're great, and you challenge everybody else, and it's not like you're one of the boys. It's not like that at all. It's just like you're part of the team. And once you're part of the team, well, kind of who cares? However, I'll tell you this. I think it's awesome to have a wide variety of perspectives as part of the team. So then you can sort of define yourself as to the uniqueness that you are. And that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't mean it's a perspective of a man or a woman, but the fact that you are a woman and you have your perspective, if this makes sense, does offer something unique. But it wouldn't matter if you just weren't part of the team. If it was like, a square peg in a round hole, Rachel, man, woman, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And what's great about you and everybody is I think we do have an awesome team. I love our team. And
I think we have so many different perspectives, whether you are a female or a male, and I think that's what makes our content at Denver Sports so unique, is that you will never find the exact same perspective. Some may agree with certain things, but they can also agree on other things. So I think we do a tremendous job over there, and I'm so lucky to be a part of a team, and I'm excited for the drive later today.
Yeah, one final comment on that. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert on everything.
No.
But you've got to be aware of things. So we're going on the show yesterday, and I'm talking about Aaron Gordon being an all-star, which I still believe. And then we have KJ on, and in like 5 seconds, KJ makes me feel like a complete idiot because he knows so much more about the other guys around the league that made it. So I think that's a great example, and you do it all the time too. I think that's why we have some fun-spirited debates and conversations. And I think we truly do like each other, and I think that helps as well. So, hey, more of that. More of that can't be wrong, right?
Yes, and we see all the comments of people saying the drive was awesome yesterday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you listen again today. We'll be on from 2 to 6. But you can always catch Dmac and I here on Coffee Break, which is what makes that show so amazing. 10:30 every single weekday. We're always here, too. But we are saying, do we have any news on the Sean Payton contract, Dmac?
No. However, Rachel, it would not surprise me as we do this show live from 10:30 to 11:15 Mountain Time.
Yep.
It would not surprise me at some time during coffee break, similar to you losing a bet to me and delivering coffee, or somebody from Uber Eats delivering coffee, that the news came out that the deal is signed, that the ink is dry on the contract.
So then was it overreaction Thursday, yesterday with all the golf stuff?
No, in my opinion, no. A lot of people would say yes. A lot of people would say yes. And if the contract does get done today, which I do believe it will, they'll certainly say, told you, Dmac, you idiot. But that doesn't really change my perception of it. I still think it would be a stronger image if Greg Penner, and I actually put more on Greg Penner than Condoleezza Rice. I mean, Rice, she was involved with everything, for sure. Excuse me, Rachel. But the buck stops. The buck stops with Greg Penner.
Mm-hmm.
But, Rachel, he tees off today for his second round at Pebble Beach at around 2:09. If you want to talk about a power move of all power moves, be somewhere on the third or fourth tee, right? And there comes the Golf Channel, and they're like, hey, listen, we have breaking news. And, Greg, we just understand you signed Sean Payton. And you want to talk about a power move beyond power moves.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the owner of an NFL team on the golf course with the news that he just signed the biggest, coach and with a big contract.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about an image and a power image? There you go. So
Sure.
Whether that happens or not, I'm quite convinced. But I never had any doubts that the deal was actually going to happen, Rachel. It was more of the optics of the frustration that the Broncos have had for years and years and years. And it's image. And I think a lot of people hated the column I wrote at denversports.com without reading it. I think it's all Jake Shapiro's fault. It's Jake Shapiro's fault for the headline, which he actually called and I signed off on. So I guess at the end of the day, it's my fault. But I think a lot of people just read the headline and didn't actually read the article. If you read the article, you would see that I said it wasn't that big of a deal and that his presence in the office would be more symbolic rather than functional. I acknowledged all of those things. The beef that I have is the Broncos, tend to embrace victory laps without anything to celebrate. And this is, the day off for Thanksgiving and field day, because none of these things, Rachel, are that big of a deal. But how many things, Rachel, that aren't that big of a deal, when you put them all together, become a big deal?
Become a massive deal. Even being late to press conferences, there's a whole lot of things that we saw last year that shouldn't have been a big deal that ultimately led to it being a freaking disaster.
Yeah, let me talk on that one real quick. So, hey, they're late for press. Who cares? For press con, whatever. That's not a big deal necessarily, but I find out later, just a couple days ago, actually, that the practices were a disaster. So it's okay, today it's a little bit late. Who cares about the Muggles, that sort of thing. Yeah. But then you look at the reason behind it and you realize, oh, wait a second. All these little things were really an indication of a much bigger problem. Mm-hmm. So again, Rachel, life is made up of a lot of little things. Very rarely in life, it's not that big things don't happen. Of course they do. Your eventual wedding, for example.
Hold on.
But when those things happen, there's a lot of little things. You have to build a wonderful relationship with your future husband, which I know you're doing as we speak. So, that day will be representative of a lot of bigger things.
Okay, this is so funny because you took this turn while I was reading this comment. I did not hear this, so we have to double check if this is true. It says Dmac got ripped apart this morning by Mike and Nate since Dmac took time off this weekend and last week in the middle of a coaching search. They compared you to the owners out golfing. So you went this way, and then I was reading this comment, and it just met in the middle for good laughs.
Yeah, hold on. I got to do my little thing here. Do you want me to seriously address this? I'm happy to do it if you'd like. I heard it. Yeah. Dmac takes days off in the middle of the coaching search.
Just give me a 30-second rebuttal that I can repost and tag them with, please and thank you.
See, but any response I give is going to sound whiny and like crybaby stuff. Okay. So if I mention that I actually cut the vacation a day short, they won't care. If I say something like, truth, I haven't taken a vacation day off since training camp, nobody will care. If I throw in there, seeing my kid who I haven't seen in 3 months playing his opening weekend of college baseball, they'll just think that's being whiny. So, Rachel, it's best if I say nothing.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I think
and that's your clip.
Okay, and end clip right there.
End clip.
End clip. We'll put it out. We'll tag them. We'll see if we can get a reaction from them. We have some other drama, I think, in the Denver Broncos with Ejiro Evero.
Yeah.
That him and Sean Payton talked yesterday. While there was one tweet that went out saying this, actually, I believe there was two. There was like nothing else said about it. It was very strange. Usually, some of these insiders have it. But then this morning, there's news that gets released that the Broncos are interviewing or have requested to interview some defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
This team, Evero said, nope, I'm not returning to the Denver Broncos. I have no interest. Or do you think maybe Sean Payton, Evero just didn't connect? Like, where does your heart lead you when you see these things pop up this morning?
Well, first of all, when I'm seeing all these stories, I'm like, where is all this happening? And I guess Sean Payton's working for the Broncos. And now I wonder, like, where is he physically working from to do all this stuff? And I don't know. I guess Sean Payton has established a bunker somewhere, Rachel, to be executing Broncos business.
Maybe if you just go to a random Starbucks, you can see them all just like sitting there writing down some notes.
So listen, I don't know. I mean, you would think if he was working inside of the Broncos facility, that would be big news. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, work can get done from many places.
True.
I guess logically, when you see all these other stories, maybe he is here. Maybe that's what this is all about. Maybe that's why it's not a big deal with the golf. Maybe it's not a big deal that you're doing other business. Maybe that's why you're hearing other reports that, he's at work. So I guess the same way I said it wouldn't surprise me if we hear a deal done. Rachel, I mean, just using logic based on all these other stories, I guess it wouldn't surprise me if he's, been in the building, I guess, because, look at
Penner, Walton Penner. Is it Walton Penner, right? Yeah. She could be there. She could be in the building. She could be getting things done. She's also part owner.
Sure. I don't know. Sean could be working out of his car. I have no idea. Who knows how things get done. But let's just talk about the news. So, again, if it comes out that he signs his contract today, I won't be surprised. If I find out he's actually been around the building, I won't be surprised.
Mm-hmm. I have the answer. He's at Russell Wilson's house because it's big enough that
there it is, Rachel.
Thank you.
And he gets to use all the bathrooms.
Every single one.
A new bathroom for every adventure.
Yeah, maybe he's actually just in the separate house, not even attached to the house. I'm sure there's like a separate little area that maybe that's where Sean Payton is like spending the night.
But Rachel, didn't this hit you like, wow, this seems to be a lot of business for a guy who hasn't signed the contract yet? Like
I think it means because Sean Payton is full force. He's ready to go, and he is going to change the culture and quarterback of this team for the better.
Well, that's a different topic too. That's interesting because Harry Douglas, ex-receiver that Aqib Talib said he was going to beat the crap out of. That's a fun story. He was on ESPN today saying he thinks Russ is just cooked. He's just done. But that doesn't mean Sean Payton can't work some magic with him.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting, though, Rachel, to your original point, was you're not requesting interviews about your defensive coordinator position if your defensive coordinator position isn't open. And technically, Ejiro Evero is on a 2-year deal, meaning this is really weird. Like, I think the Broncos do want him back. The reporting was somewhere Sean Payton was meeting with Evero, right? That happened somewhere yesterday. And the next day we're hearing about requests to, for that two different ones, including with Brian Flores, who Rachel last year was suing the Broncos in a discrimination suit. You want to talk about wild? Here's a guy who is naming Joe Ellis and John Elway by name in a discrimination lawsuit. And now the Broncos are interviewing him to be the defensive coordinator. Wow. Okay. I mean, wow. That's all I can say.
My personal opinion. But really, how often is John Elway in the building? How often is Joe Ellis in the building? It's a new chapter for Broncos country. Maybe Brian Flores is looking at it that way.
Well, if you want to talk about a new chapter, talk about bringing a guy in for an interview who's suing you. And I mean, wow. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm not against it or anything. I really don't have an opinion about it other than, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And don't forget D'Amico Ryans, who's now the Texans head coach. I know that because they had a big press conference yesterday. He sued the team for $10 million because he blamed the team for the turf that caused an ACL injury that led to the end of his career. Yep. So we're in a fascinating world where, you can sue people and then they hire you, or at least they're interested in hiring you. I mean, that's pretty wild, Rachel. So, and to your point, it's probably a very good sign of the Walton Penner Group. Okay, that's the past. We're new. We don't care. What's the best thing for the team? We don't really care about the past. So there, I said something very nice about them, and I said it's a power move if you announce the signing on the golf course. And I think Evero's out, Rachel. I mean, I don't think you meet with the guy yesterday and then the next day there's news about you requesting interviews for defensive coordinator jobs. I suppose there's a world where Evero is just weighing his options and the Broncos are just trying to be prepared. So if it falls through for him as the head coach of the Cardinals or the Colts, okay. But there's a big vibe on the street, Rachel, that he's going to join his pal Kevin O'Connell. They work together with the Rams, and he's going to join Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. So I think Evero's out. I do think he's out. I think the Broncos wanted him, and I just think they sort of tried. I think Payton met with him somewhere, and it just,
But this goes back to my
didn't fit right.
Do you think that Ejiro or Evero said, I really don't want to work here, I have zero intentions of staying here? Or do you think Sean Payton said, yeah, this just isn't going to work out?
No, because
both, but
that's not his personality. So I don't think he's an ultimatum guy. I think I'm highly impressed with Coach E. Okay. See, I'll make it easy. I'm highly impressed with him. He has the absolute right temperature, experience, knowledge, skill to be a head coach. No doubt about it. He was
so
by
then you
far.
Think Sean Payton said,
I don't think it was like that. I think it was. I think it's shaping up to be more like maybe in a different situation this would be a good thing, and we all like each other, and it's just like I'd like to explore other options. So I don't think it's dead, Rachel. While I think if I had to guess or bet, I'd say he's moving on, but I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's dead.
Oh, I think he's moving on. So if they I forget, can you trade this year and get picks, or is it next year that you can trade and get picks?
You'd have to. Gosh, that's. Yeah, Rachel. Again, a really good question. I'm not so sure because
I know
he's under contract with the Broncos. I mean, I suppose they could just release him from his contract. They could just be nice guys, or, and I'm just not well schooled on assistant coaches being traded. I don't know what the value is and what the compensation would be.
And Jake does a great job. Hold on, Jake does a great job. He knows all the little back end nuggets. He said if he signs next year, the Broncos get a comp pick because of the Rooney Rule. So
if we're talking the Rooney Rule, he's got to be with the team for 2 years. Yeah. And then if he was to get a head coaching job, not a parallel job, you don't get any compensation if you go from defensive coordinator to defensive coordinator. It's about going up to head coach. The Broncos would get 2 third-round picks in successive years, one in 2024 and one in 2025. But he would have to be the coach, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos, Rachel, for 2 years in order to qualify for that. So there's significant motivation for the Broncos to want to keep Coach E. First and foremost, he's great at his job. That's first.
I know.
Second is if he's inevitably going to be a head coach. If that's going to happen inevitably, because he is really good at his job, it's the best thing for your organization, the Broncos, to get some sort of value for that if he goes there. It really does give, if you think about it, and Andrew Mason wrote about it, it gives them major motivation to hire African-American coaches. And in fact, especially, and the first thing beyond everything is they're qualified. There's tons of qualified guys. And the fact that if they're on your team for a couple of years and they're inevitably going to become head coaches anyways, it's a pretty smart move. So I absolutely understand what's behind the Rooney Rule, and it's done well. That part of the Rooney Rule, Rachel, I think is actually pretty darn good. And should you be smart to just hire qualified coaches, period, and give opportunities where maybe normally you wouldn't. I think that's really a good part of the Rooney Rule. And I think that's a huge reason you want somebody very qualified, a great coach. And it really goes to, like, if it wasn't Sean Payton and things were a little bit different, wouldn't Coach E have been the best replacement for Nathaniel Hackett?
I know.
But, Rachel, we're Walmart now. Rachel, we're Walmart. And we just break the bank when something's broken, and we worry about stuff later.
We're talking hypotheticals of what would have happened if Nathaniel Hackett had got fired earlier and Evero would have become the interim head coach and had more than 2 weeks like Jerry Ross would have done. We're not going to get into the hypotheticals today because we could go on and on and on and on and on. Do you think that the Vikings were overrated this season?
Kind of. They won a lot of games. They pulled them out of their butt, but, you got to give credit for teams that are able to do that too. Yeah. I think the Vikings are facing a lot of similar issues that teams have with older quarterbacks, Rachel. It's like they get you so far, but then, the wheels eventually fall off. We are seeing a blend, Rachel, of younger. It's not that they're running quarterbacks, but it's their ability to move better and run when they need to. And they're super smart, and they're unbelievably athletic. So they're smarter, they're more athletic, and they give you more options than ever before. And so I think the Vikings fall into that category of a lot of teams with older quarterbacks.
If they add Evero to the staff, does this make them championship or Super Bowl contenders?
That's a great question, Rachel. We'll see. But right now, the Super Bowl is going to have Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts as the quarterbacks. So I guess I'll believe it when
Jalen Hurts kind of take that older generation of quarterback and prove that, they can still make it to the big game. Patrick Mahomes is the young one. He's with the Joe Burrows and the Josh Allens and yada, yada. But I feel like Jalen Hurts is like just a little bit above them, right? He's not like a Tom Brady era, even though it's kind of crazy that era is officially kind of done, but he's like right in the middle. You see what I'm talking about?
Well, Jalen Hurts is a younger quarterback who was a second-round draft pick, and it is funny. There was some word out of Philadelphia. This was an odd vibe that they may be looking to move on from Jalen Hurts after next year. I think that's nuts, and I sort of doubt that reporting. But Jalen Hurts, I think he's a great young quarterback. Kirk Cousins, he's that older guy there with Minnesota. And we'll see what Green Bay does. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was being heckled at the golf tournament there yesterday for, coming to San Francisco. He said he's not coming to San Francisco, but, he's going somewhere. And Rachel, we just have two very different scenarios in the AFC and the NFC. The AFC is just loaded with these younger, smarter, just new age defining quarterbacks that are not locked into the pockets sort of cliche that the NFL has known for so long. And the NFC is not quite there. But look at the quarterback that did make it to the Super Bowl from the NFC. He looks a lot like an AFC quarterback. So Kirk Cousins is old. Matt Ryan is old. Tom Brady, is retired. He's old.
It's the style of play that I'm talking about. I'm not talking directly about the age. Like, there's a difference in play because I know Mahomes is older, and everyone I see you in the comments, I know he's 27. He's the same age as me. But it's like the style of play. Like there was like different tiers of style of play. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you watch them, you know what you're going to get out of like I'm calling the younger generation of football, where they're running and they're moving a lot and they're doing these crazy passes. But you don't see that out of Jalen Hurts. It's more of that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning-esque type football.
Yeah, it's more just sort of managing things around him. Listen, if you want a way to win with Russell Wilson, that's exactly it. You know, it's not asking him to really, I guess, do too much. I struggle with it, Rachel. I am so in love with the mid-20 year. I can't get over the age thing, okay? And I see what they're doing in the AFC, and I'm just kind of jealous of it, because I think the Broncos had a couple of chances to get there, and they just haven't done it. So listen, I don't know, man. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to drive to the grocery store, Rachel. There's just not one path. When you go to pick up a gallon of milk or whatever chai tea you're getting there at the grocery store. So we'll see, Rach. I don't know. I'll try to stay optimistic about it, but just understand everything the Broncos are trying to do is going against the trend of what's really working currently in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And Rachel, we'll see who the next older quarterback is to win a Super Bowl. Okay, we'll see. I know Tom Brady just did it a couple years ago. But now that you've given these younger guys a couple more years of experience, Rachel, we'll see. And we'll see, especially in the AFC, who's going to be the next older quarterback out of the AFC to make it to a Super Bowl.
It's going to be a really good question.
Theoretically, it's Russell Wilson.
I don't know about that one, but I don't want anyone to get mad at me.
Rachel, what are we doing here? If the answer is not Russell
Wilson, you're giving up so much money if you just say, "All right, Russ, peace out, good luck in life." Like you got to try.
And Rachel, that's exactly what they're doing. They're giving it a shot. They are. So
you have to, and that's why you just brought in a superstar head coach who's probably going to be here for 5 years, is my guess, and make close to 20 mil, if not 20 mil.
Well. Okay, that would insinuate there's a contract done. What time is it? Is that news out yet?
11. It's almost 11, and we've only gotten to 2 things that we were going to talk about today of coffee break. So we're going to move on. We will keep you up to date if we do hear anything about a contract. Yes, you did mention D'Amico Ryans, though. Do you think he dissed the Broncos by saying it was an easy choice to go to Houston? Or H-Town, let me say it like that.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a shot. I think the Broncos were really interested in him. Mm-hmm. I think the reporting about the Broncos calling about him, that was shot down, probably did not go over that well with him. And I think that's a shot right there. I think, and you want to tell your fan base, you want to pass a message to your fan base. I care more about, I'm loyal. You know, I'm from the mud, as Garrett Bowles would say, meaning I'm Houston. I was drafted by Houston. I played my career here. My wife's from here. I am Houston.
Yep.
And look at the way he was embraced by former teammates and the staff at their press conference.
Yeah.
And that was a homecoming. So listen, there's a little politics here, Rachel. I think his agents probably wanted him to come to Denver because there was more money there. But, you know, the loyalty factor you can't discount. So I think it was a shot, but it was a minor shot. It wasn't a major shot. It was a minor shot, and it was probably more about appeasing the Houston Texans fan base more than I'm upset about anything with the Broncos. So I wouldn't take it too seriously.
So essentially, it's what we wish Nathaniel Hackett would have said when he was like, you know, I like all the coaches or all the teams or yada yada. When we were like, no, we want you to say you hate the Raiders, you hate the Chiefs, you want to end the losing streak, etc.
You want to tell your fan base that you feel their pain. You want to tell your are you watching what Deion Sanders is doing right now at CU? I mean, I love Colorado. Riding my bike, and he has problems with his feet and his legs. And that is a big facility. So he really does, you know, he doesn't want to walk around in a wheelchair. That looks terrible. So he's just riding everywhere on a mountain bike, which is pretty funny. Like, okay, cool. And his tweet today, Jake Shapiro, a CU alum, you got to love this. He was saying, hey, Georgia. He's like talking directly. He's doing direct recruiting on social media to players on Georgia. Hey, Georgia, I need 8 guys. They got to be X, Y, and Z. Like, hey, Georgia. I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, you want to talk about a power move. And I have no doubts when it comes to CU Nebraska. What do you guys think we're going to hear from Deion Sanders, his first year here, about CU Nebraska? Do you think he's going to be up to speed on the rivalry? Do you think he's going to be wearing red anytime soon? And I think he's going to have, a certain amount of venom for CSU too. Not, it'll be in a typical CU Boulder sort of way, arrogant. But that's what that rivalry has always been. It's always been CU's the big brother to the little sister, CSU. And see, poor CSU, man. Poor CSU. Like I saw like Jay Norville. You got an issue back there, Rachel? All right.
I was looking for my CSU stuff. I've got some, but it's right on the wall and stuff. I was gonna pull it out, but yeah.
Well, you got Jay Norville, and he's like beating the bushes to try to rally up some excitement for CSU. You got Deion Sanders. It's just like stomping all over things.
I know, and he is, and. What's so funny is I'm sure his PR, like the PR for this school is probably like, oh my gosh, like what are we doing? Just because he's going so off the wall. But at the same time, you have to love it because it's like bringing so much excitement towards CU this fall.
I think the PR staff of CU is holding on for dear life. I mean, they're just like trying to hang in there the best they can. Listen, I think it's fantastic. I think Deion Sanders is doing exactly what you need to do when you come to a new place. Losing isn't acceptable. Here's what we're going to do to win. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm on social media because that's how people that play for me will identify with me. I think that's I am blown away by Deion Sanders and what they're doing at CU. They got a great recruiting class, probably the best. And again, Jake would know better, but like, I don't know. Is that the best recruiting class they've ever had? They're tops in the country in the transfers. They got a tough schedule, Rachel. No doubt about it. They got a tough schedule. But listen,
what they're worth.
You're converting people to become CU fans left and right. You're going to root for CU this year, Rachel.
Am I? Did you just ask me or are you telling me?
No, I'm telling you, you are. Aside from one game, you will be rooting for CU.
I know. Because I'm a Colorado native. I'm a Denver native. So my sister went to Boulder. My brother-in-law went to Boulder. My heart is in Fort Collins.
Of course.
Also in the state of Colorado. So you have to root for Boulder. I will root for the Buffs as much as that kills me, except when they play the CSU Rams. And
I think all of us. I think you're going to find so many, like me, for example. I call myself a poser buff because I just know more people up there at CU. Although I know plenty of fine people, yourself included, from CSU. I just have a bit of a closer connection. But my heart of heart, Rachel, I went to Syracuse. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. So I don't really, at the end of the day, I'm like, whatever. But I will be more actively interested, attending games, and rooting for CU more than I have in years and years and years. And part of that, Rachel, is because the coach has got me bought in that they care about what's happening. And when Hackett comes out and goes, well, I don't know, the Chiefs, I wasn't here. The Raiders, how about Justin Houghton? Every game's a rivalry. No, dude, like this game matters more against the Raiders. Even if you don't really believe it, I mean, just lie to us a little bit. If you don't believe it. However, how about this, Rachel? Believe it. Feel it. Know it. I mean, figure it out.
Know who you're talking to, I think, is a big one. And I think the intensity of what Coach Prime is bringing to Colorado is really, people are either going to jump on it or they're going to absolutely hate you. But one way or another, they're still going to be talking about you. And like they say, even bad PR is good PR.
There you go.
There you go. All right. There is still more I want to get into. Aaron Gordon, was he snubbed?
Yeah, I think so. Despite how much KJ put me in my place yesterday on the drive, I think so. And Michael Malone's bigger point was, how is the team in first place in the West, the best record in the NBA. And by the way, they're first place in the West, Rachel, by 4 games with 30 games to go. They're in unbelievable position. And the Memphis Grizzlies in their last 10 are 3-7, and they're in second place. So they're having a bit of a dip, and the Nuggets are just rolling. He was snubbed. I think he deserved to be in there by hook or by crook. And Malone was asked about it last night after the game, and he said, well, there is still a possibility. If somebody can't participate in the All-Star game for some sort of injury reason, he said he hopes, and maybe he has some influence as he's the head coach of the team, that if it's a smaller player, it's Jamal Murray. If it's a big, it's Aaron Gordon. So there's still a smidgen of hope that Jamal or Aaron Gordon get in there. I feel bad for Aaron Gordon because he is having his best year of his career. And if you're having the best year of your career, you're on a first place team. You're the one, it was Aaron Gordon, Rachel, that played in Milwaukee when all the other starters rested. He took the bullet on that one. He played in that game. And so I think last night, because they knew Klay Thompson wasn't playing, and they were iffy if Steph Curry and Draymond Green was a last-minute scratch. I think that was a well-deserved night off for Aaron Gordon, just to chill a little bit. That was a little bit of load management. He probably has a little something going on with his ankle. I'm not doubting, but all players have something going on. And it was just a rough day. It's kind of sucked, and I'm glad he was able to take a night off, just sort of decompress, process it, and come back, stronger than ever. He's been awesome. He's absolutely one of my favorite guys to cover. I love his personality. He's soft-spoken, but his words carry weight and meaning. I'm a huge Aaron Gordon fan. I am a huge Aaron Gordon.
Me too. I've said all along this season, Mr. Consistent. I love him. Unfortunately, though, I think so much of the All-Star game has to do with if you're a household name. And I think because there are so many big names on this Nuggets team, I just don't think Aaron Gordon is there. But that doesn't mean his play isn't there. So I don't know if he got snubbed for that reason alone, but
there's two guys from the Grizzlies on the All-Star team, and they're in second place. How did that happen? Paul George is on there from the Clippers. How are they doing this year?
But he's a household name.
All right. That's true. But I'm kind of rolling my eyes at it, and listen, Jamal is Jamal. Jamal is back. Last night, Murray said the only thing that's bothering him, is rebounding. Because in rebounding, to be an aggressive rebounder, you got to go up high against, there's a lot of traffic when you're rebounding, right? Yeah. And he's just, it's like this. It's just a little concern where he is with his knee. But it's small, Rachel, small. And that's the last and final piece of the puzzle. But Jamal Murray, you could have Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray on this All-Star team, and you'd be doing all right. They've had unbelievable years, both of them. And Jamal's catching fire as of late. So, all right. I'm rolling my eyes at it because at the end of the day, what you want is the best team. Yeah. And whether or not the Nuggets are being recognized for that, they're obviously not. And okay, fine. We'll just keep all of this in mind when the playoffs come around. Because let me tell you this, Rachel. The Warriors were desperate. They sat Draymond and Klay, but they played Curry 33 minutes after he played 40 the night before, and they got rolled. Yep. Rolled by the Nuggets, especially in the third quarter. The only reason it was close at halftime is they were shooting 68% from three, okay? They averaged 38% for the year. They're 7-19 on the road. Rachel, they were due to fall apart, and they did. They fell apart. The Nuggets stomped them, and the fourth quarter was barely competitive, and that was with Steph Curry.
And when Nikola has a triple-double, or 17-0, have not lost a game. But Jake also just said, last night was the first Nuggets home game without a dunk in almost 2 years.
Oh, wow. Is that right?
And no Aaron Gordon. He has that extra firepower that you need on the rim. I love it.
That's funny, I guess. Wow.
Yeah.
That did not even occur to me. Like when I was at the game, there were no dunks from the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bravo, Jake. Bravo.
That's a fun little stat. I know they shot close to 45% from three. Vlatko Čančar was fantastic, and he barely plays. Okay. Yeah. Jeff Green struggled a little bit off the bench, but I mean, Čančar and KCP and Bruce Brown, Rachel, they're wide open shooting threes, because if you don't double Jokic, if you don't double Murray, if you don't pay attention to those two, they're going to eat you alive. Yeah. And so what happens is you have to put attention to them or they're going to kill you. And then they're kicking it out to guys. Rachel, they're wide. Vlatko said after the game, the reason why he's been so efficient, he goes, because I'm the worst player on the floor. And we all laugh, but he wasn't wrong. Like, you know, you're the worst player and you're really, really good. Yeah. And, you know, that's the story with the Nuggets this year. It's awesome. And Bones, you know, Bones did not play, coach's decision. He sat on the bench. He was active. And that's, I mean, you don't have to ask any more questions, Rachel. You don't have to ask any more questions. We get it.
But people are asking questions, and I have seen the name pop up a ton in the comments. What the heck is going on with Bones? Is there any update on if he's going to be traded? Do you believe Bones Hyland will be a part of this team after the Super Bowl?
I do not. It's I think the trade deadline is next Thursday, I believe, the 9th, I think.
Oh, February. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I was sniffing around this last night and getting a lay of the NBA landscape.
Yeah.
What happened last year is there were a couple of deals done before the deadline, but there were 13 trades done like at the deadline.
I remember that.
Teams just kind of wait around. So if I had to guess on it, I think he'll be with the team for another week, and that would not get him to the Super Bowl.
Well, it also, if he's there next week, he will be a part of this team moving forward. Because like you said.
If he's on the team on Friday. If he's on the team on Friday, if he makes it to the Super Bowl, you got to figure things out. You got to
I think he's out. Next week's going to be really interesting.
I think they got to trade him, Rachel. At this point, I would kind of trade him for virtually anything. Seriously. Yeah. It's, golly, he's such a good young man. Like, I don't know. I'm hedging here. If you can't trade him, see, the problem is if you can't trade him, you're going to really have to work with him, meaning you're going to have to pull your focus away to really spend time with him. And then you're going to have to force him into situations to allow him to get better. And Rachel, they scored 134 points last night. They shot 45% from three, and Bones Hyland never left the bench against the Warriors.
How was the attitude down there?
It was
good. Was he on the end of the bench?
But he was in a spot that made sense. He was good. It looked like he was better engaged. You know what it looked like to me, Rachel? Again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here today, you know, but it looks like somebody had a chat with him. And it looked like to me he understood where he stands. And it looked like to me that a lot of confusion was cleared up. Okay? That's what it looked like to me. So I thought his body language and all that sort of stuff was actually fine. I thought it was great. No problems with that. I don't think
we had any cryptic Instagram stories last night.
Nope.
You could probably let me know for sure on that. But
no, listen. He leaves the game. He sends out a cryptic Insta message. I asked Michael Malone where he stands with Bones. Michael Malone goes on about how he stands with all of his players, including Bones. Michael Malone mentioned how proud they were that Bones was going to be in the future Stars game. Whether he's with the Nuggets or not, that happens, who knows. But Malone brought him up unasked about that. Listen, I think they like Bones, Rachel. I think they do. It's just the window for them winning a championship is small, and you just can't waste time on things that just don't matter anymore. And if the Nuggets, hey Rachel, if this was last year, first of all, if it was last year, you didn't have Jamal Murray playing, and there was a more significant role for Bones, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah,
Rachel, he just needs to go to a situation like that. It was always going to be weird when Jamal came back in terms of what his role was going to be, and it was. But I'm telling you, he could go to probably 7 or 8 different teams and rediscover Busy. You know, rediscover Busy Bones, okay? And I hope that happens. I know Bol Bol went to Orlando. It was the best thing for Bol Bol.
Yeah.
This team is on a championship track, and I'm sure Bones does want to win a championship. But as a younger player, I think it's fair, Rachel, as a younger player who has unbelievable upside, to want to look out for himself first. I'm fine with that. I'm more than fine with it.
See, I hate when you put things that way, because I'm like, I was so angry at Bones because he was thinking about himself more than he was thinking about the good of the team. But then you go and put it that way of like, he has to think about his future and yada, yada, yada. And I know you got to get the money, you got to get the payday to, you know, make sure your future is set, and hopefully others as well in that same position. But it's interesting that the attitude changed. I find that very interesting. And I wonder if it was Malone, because I think back to what Jake said earlier this week on Coffee Break, where he thinks that Bones was dealing with a finger injury. Malone didn't have his back on it, and ultimately led to that. So it's interesting. I have a lot of questions that we'll get to next week, but our show is over. And I do want to make sure you guys all come back on Monday, because there are some exciting things to come on Coffee Break. I'm really excited. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to let you ponder on this for the weekend, everybody, but come back Monday, 10:30 a.m. There's going to be some exciting things happening here on Coffee Break. So we will see you guys all then. We hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'm going to watch the home team this weekend. I promise, everybody. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great one. Bye, everybody. Oh, and listen to us on the drive. How could I forget? Bye.
Yeah.